What if your life looks right, but feels completely wrong? You're doing everything you're supposed to do, showing up, producing, holding it all together, and still something feels off. What if the problem isn't your life, but your connection to yourself? This is the Delay the Binge Podcast, where we learn how to pause in the moments that matter most, so we can choose differently, build momentum, and finish stronger. I'm your host, Pam Dwyer, and today's conversation is part of the Becoming series, where we explore what it really looks like to come back to yourself. Not who you think you should be, but who you actually are underneath it all. And today's guest is someone whose work really lives in that space. Erin Treacy is a leadership coach and founder of Erin Treacy Coaching, where she helps high-achieving women and teams recognize the patterns they're stuck in, pause before reacting, and make small, intentional shifts that create clarity, energy, and sustainable success. Erin, I'm really glad you're here. Welcome, welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. We have such good conversations. This is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. Thank you. So before we go anywhere else, though, I love to ask my guests about how their life's going. You know, if you could share a little bit about what you're doing right now and what your work looks like today and what you're most excited about.
So I work as a coach, both in personal growth, professional growth, and business growth and leadership that is all of those roles. And I talk with a lot of women who are juggling the busy calendar that's their calendar, the kids' calendar, the spouse's calendar, the work calendar, all of the teams at work's calendar. And we're juggling all of these things and we're wearing all of these hats. And we're in this constant trying to have it all or keep up or, look like we think we're supposed to be. And what I learned through my own life and through my own experiences and an experience through burnout is none of those things are ever going to truly make you actually happy. And you actually can't appreciate any of the moments that you're in because you're too busy worrying about the next moments. And so really being able to help not just women, but anybody who's in those moments to strengthen themselves, their teams, their businesses in ways that really impact them on a personal level, on a professional level. And it's so satisfying when you see light bulbs and you have a conversation with somebody and they come back and go, Erin, I so used this on me and it worked. So I used it with my team and oh my gosh, this happened. And you're like, not only did you learn to apply it to yourself, but you learned how to, spread that to be able to impact other people in such positive ways. And it's not a giving up or giving up things. It's learning how to reassess where you show up.
I can already hear how grounded your work is in real life, not just theory, right? There's a lot of talk about a lot of these theories and frameworks that we're talking about today. But what I find that is missing is solutions. Like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, have your pie in the sky, your vision boards. I mean, we talk about it in all these, whatever you want to label, how you set your goals or how you envision your life. Or now the new word I think that's trending is manifesting and, all of those things. And that's great. You should have those things. But the difference is, everybody wants, you hear everybody has said at one point in their life, I'm going to make $1 million when I make my first $1 million. And it doesn't matter what walk of life that you're from. Everyone has said it at some point. And then it's, but I didn't know how to get from here to there. I didn't know what the first step was. I didn't have support. I didn't know who to ask. And so that's where I want to talk to people is here's the first step. Here's today's step. Have you ever thought about, okay, great. How are we going to make the $1 million? Let's actually come up with the plan. But we have to figure out where to start. It doesn't just show up and you walk in and say, hey, investor person, I have this imaginary thing that I want to do, create, be. You should just give me the money. Like it doesn't work that way in business and it doesn't work that way in life.
No, it doesn't. And I love this analogy you're giving because I always say people are sitting back waiting for motivation, right? They wait to be motivated to act, or to do what they need to do to make a change or be better. And I think if you wait on motivation, you're never going to do it. It happens after you act.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we wait for the perfect time. Well, I need to have this much money in the bank. Well, the kids
Yeah.
need to be this old. Well, I need this or we need that, and we make all of these why we can't or shouldn't. Right now, it's like there's never a perfect scenario for anything that you want in life. There's never the perfect time for, and then fill in your blank. We can't wait. We have to figure out how to remanage those things to get to the next thing we want.
Exactly. I want to go back for a minute before we move forward. You shared that there was a point where in your life where everything looked right on paper. You were leading, producing, showing up, but underneath all that, you were running on empty. Can you take us into that version of you? What did that actually feel like day to day?
So at the time, I've been in a few different family businesses, but at the time we owned a few different restaurants, owned restaurants, managed restaurants, and worked as a trainer as well for like the corporate office for that brand. So, you're managing a lot, and then COVID hits. So
Mm,
you're managing restaurants in different states with different rules and different things and different, and some days you had 10 different rules in a single day. And what do you do with that? And when
I
you have
know.
multiple states that's happening in, and then in those years too, I had gotten remarried. We had a blended house of 5 kids. So you're managing a lot of schedules and blending houses and managing people at work and the business. And it's a family business. So my parents are in the family business. My kids work in the restaurant. So, I mean, and you're constantly kind of in that circle. And small business ownership is hard already.
Yeah.
In general, you wear all of the hats. Now do it for multiple locations and have 5 kids and, your divorced house. So you've got other sides of the family schedules to manage and some of those things. So there's a lot going on, and it's like, oh no. And you keep moving the touchdown, if I get to X, if we get to this, if I get to next Thursday, I'll have so and so trained and I can not do this and have time for family. I need to make time for family, so I can't train so and so. I'll do it after. And so you're constantly moving and shuffling the deck of people, whether that's family, business, employees, all of those things. And so you're in a constant rush. I was constantly in motion. The calendar is full. I'm responding to emails. I'm checking off to-do lists. All of those things that we're taught to manage our life, the calendar, all of those things, but you never actually got to the end zone, right? You never got to the crescendo of the song because you just kept moving it. Well, we need to make the song longer. We need to move the field to whatever we're moving it to. And in that, the burnout started, and I was so blinded. And you're in your tunnel vision. If I do all of these things and check all of this list, I'll eventually get to. And what I really learned is I was in motion, but there was nothing productive about it. And in the long run, I was hurting myself by ignoring the massive headaches because everybody gets headaches. Everybody gets migraines. That's normal. I
Mhm.
ignored back pain. Everybody has back pain. Women who have had children and epidurals, we have back pain. That's normal. And we excuse a lot of these things. I would go to the doctor for different things that were going on, and they'd, run test after test after test. They're like, we have no idea what the problem is. What
Oh
do you
my
mean
gosh.
you have no idea what the problem is? And I mean, thousands of dollars have been spent
Mhm.
on what the problem is. And we could never figure it out. And then it would just disappear, just magically go away. And then, that happened for a little bit and a new thing would pop up. And so you in this constant cycle. And what happened is the mental part of the brain, of the nervous system, couldn't handle the stress any longer. And we've learned I am a very high stress tolerant human,
Hmm.
which I kind of knew
Myself.
before this, but I am a very high, I can take it. It's fine. It doesn't, and then, you excuse it away. But ultimately, my body figured out how to literally stop me in my tracks, compressed discs in my lower back, L4, L5, and S1. And it cut off the nerve conversation to my right leg. And when you're standing on a cook line trying to train a cook and your right leg stops working,
Working.
I literally, I a lot of times, even with my, like, the computer
Mhm.
or the phone, I'm like, go, go, gadget arms, work. And, you just send it magical powers. I learned it from go, go, gadget arms. And it's like, I'm standing there on the cook line going, move to my right leg and like telling it.
Willing
And I'm
it
like,
to move.
okay, I'm literally looking at my leg saying move. And I can't make it move. Like, it will not budge. I can feel it, like I can touch it. It's not numb to touch, but I couldn't make my leg move. Obviously, I didn't know it was compressed discs at the time. Again, back to the doctor we went. And it was even after we had figured that part out that I was at a conference and a woman was on stage and started talking about her own burnouts and the signs and the headaches and the nausea and the different pains and all of these things. I'm like, oh, check that box, check that box. I know that. I know that. I recognized all of those points to the point where I literally left that conversation, that session, and I texted my husband and was like, I think I have burnout. And I just learned it at this conference. And I never would have imagined the mental health part of what that was. I would not have called it burnout. I would not have researched burnout. I just thought that was another one of those pretty words that we like to use and label on things. And then I went, okay, it is the physical body, it's the mental health part triggering the body to say we can't do anymore.
Right.
It's
Right.
protecting itself. If you
Mhm.
won't stop and take care of the body, we're going to make sure we find ways. And it was in that very long pause because I can't go to work and be on concrete floors and stand for 10, 12 hours a day. I can't do the physical things that I had done. So I had to stop. I had to reassess. I had to figure out how to fix the problem in the long term. And for us, it's time to close restaurants and do something different and take care of myself and
Mhm.
do that. And in all of that process, so when there's a message and a conversation that we need to be talking about more. And one of the reasons I even speak to my personal story was it took someone else's personal story for me to see it in myself. So I need to do the same to be able to help somebody else see it in themselves and start. You don't have to go to a coach like me. You can, however your system or your need is, but you need to hear the message and understand it to know, do something to help yourself.
Yes, yes, and sharing that story, a lot of people don't realize that they think either A, they don't have a story, or B, who's gonna listen, but even if it's just one person, it impacts, because then they're like, "Oh," they see themselves in that story, and then that causes them to think, "Well, maybe I could do something about it."
Mhm.
So it does your story makes a huge difference in people's lives, and I had a funny thought when you were saying you were going to all these doctors and they weren't finding anything wrong, but you knew something was off. And I have done that so many times. And it's so crazy how, isn't it, that we get disappointed that nothing's wrong? It's like I
And
spent all
it's
this
like,
money.
I know the answer is going to be, we have no idea. And like the doctors believed me, right? Like I had
Yeah.
horrible stomach issues. I wouldn't be able to eat, but it's like, you take a Zofran for nausea that didn't help and an acid didn't, like nothing would help. But it's like this horrible, and I can't eat food and I can't. And you're just like, there's something wrong. And
Hmm.
they're looking at it going, we know something's wrong. We just don't even know where else
To
to
look.
to look because there's nothing that sends us down any path in any direction.
Exactly. And they just want to troubleshoot. And if they can't, I wish they would just say, I don't know. Instead of trying this medicine, trying that medicine. Let's try this. Just say, I don't know. Let's send you to another specialist. That's what I would love, love, love if a doctor did that.
That we got to a point where it was, Like insurance isn't going to pay for another specialist because there's nothing that indicates, right? And they're like, we don't know, but we also don't know where else to send you to try to find out, see what happens. And, 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, that thing would be gone and something else would come up. You're like, oh, okay. The body's just constantly, well, you didn't stop here, so let's give you another red flag. Let's give you another signal. Let's give you another signal. And it just
and you just keep
getting
pushing through, right? Because you think, because one doctor one time told me to go get counseling because they couldn't find what was wrong, and I just kept telling them something's wrong, something's off.
Well, it's probably stress. Like if you can't, when all default answers are, it's stress. That's just the default, right? If anything is wrong with you, we can't figure it out. Well, it's stress. And you're just sitting there going, I mean, I didn't need $10,000 of medical bills to tell me that it's stress. But how would you like me as a small business owner to not be stressed? Like, tell me how I should do that. Who do I go see for that?
That's the mindset, right? That we are taught that we are supposed to worry. We are supposed to be stressed if we really care, right? That's what we have been taught, and it's ingrained deeply. And that's why, especially as women, we're busy trying to check all the boxes, right? We're trying to do everything perfectly so that everyone else is happy. And we just shut down what our body is trying to tell us. We just keep ignoring it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? So why is it so easy to ignore? What are your thoughts on that? It's so easy to do it.
In some cases, we're taught that's what we're supposed to do, or it's how we justify it to ourselves. It's how we make the excuse. We just don't want to call it the excuse. And, when you're growing up, you're kind of taught, you're supposed to have it all. As women, we're supposed to have it all. You're supposed to want a career and the kids and the husband and the house and the big house and the cars and the vacations. And we want all these things. And these are things that as Gen Xers, we learned long before there was social media to keep up with those Joneses. Right. Like we didn't have any of that taught us that. It was just kind of that natural. You need the biggest house in town, and you need the designer purses, and you need all these things. So even if you can't afford it, even if you can't handle the stress of it, you're supposed to want all of these things. And you constantly get, and I got this like when I left kind of a job that I had, it was, well, what do you mean you're going to go like coach people and work from home? And and people like, that's crazy. Why would you give up a job that you can make X at to start? And because it's the balance of my life that I want. But I think through a divorce and kind of balancing all of those different things and making, a life pivot, because none of one of those words we like, that life pivot, life changed. I was divorced and I was a single mom, and I couldn't necessarily do some of the things I wanted to do, but it's how do I reimagine my life and figure out what I want to do? And you kind of went, I can do these things. And there are times when, yes, you have to make decisions as I'm the mom, and I have to make decisions that are the best thing for my kid. And that means I maybe can't do this thing for myself right now, but it doesn't mean that that's always where the choice is. And so I'm at a point now in my life where I'm like, you know what? My kids are older. I'm allowed to make a choice based on what I want for my life and where I want to go and where I want to be. And it's not, if you had told me this when I was 18, I would have been like, you're telling me, you would telling me I'm going to own and manage restaurants with my family. No, like absolutely crazy. You're telling me I'm going to coach people in small business, burnout, leadership, capacity, building systems that for people that actually function. That's crazy. You never would have imagined it.
And it really is. That's what this series is all about, is about becoming, right? Evolving and just getting a momentum towards something. And if you don't know what it is, that's where, you have to take a moment to really look inward and figure out what is it you want. You know what you don't want, but you don't know what you do want.
Sometimes we get to make decisions on what's going to make me happy.
Yes. And sometimes people just don't know. I mean, I was following your work, And I just love it all, by the way. But you said something really powerful in there that the most important moment isn't the burnout. It's the moment right before the automatic response.
Mhm.
Can you walk me through that and what's
Well, and
happening in that moment?
that's that moment where you have that second of choice. Like I was actually just working on a new blog that I was working on because I try to work ahead and talk, in kind of that moment, it's that 2 minute pause that you need to take. And somebody's just take 2 minutes, just take a moment. And you're like, no, 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 I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. And we automatically default to, I can't stop because I'm too busy, but I can take on 5 more tasks that I have no time for. And where we got the alignment of saying no is bad, or not even no, but just let me think about it for a moment. Let me
Mhm.
have 2 minutes of thought to even process how I would fit new task, new thing into my day. Like, why is one better? And then you go, wait, the wrong one is the accepted one. And, being able to put something down for 2 minutes is actually practical. You could do that today. You could find 2 minutes, not 2 hours, but 2 minutes somewhere in your day to take your own moment to kind of disconnect, take a few breaths, listen to just a song on the radio and not, all of the people in your world, because there's all these people in your world that need you. I had somebody the other day, well, Erin, you have 5 minutes in the bathroom. No, no, I have, even I have a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old that live at home. Even in the bathroom, you're not safe. They're still like, are you in there? What are you doing? When are you coming out? It doesn't happen. But in my car, I am by myself
Mhm.
more days than
Mhm.
that's probably the space I'm alone the most. And I think that's true for most of us. We're probably
Yeah.
in our car at some point. There's 2 minutes, not on the phone, not like put the car in park, stop for a minute, take a breath. What do I
Yeah.
want to do walking into this meeting? Or what do I need to rethink and take a note about walking out of this meeting? Or what do I need to, while I'm sitting in the car pickup line? Don't, not sending 50 text messages to everybody that you're not sitting with at the office, right? We're not
Right.
doing that. We're taking 2 minutes and it's like, oh, I can't find that. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to do that thing over there. It doesn't, I told them this morning at work to do X. And now that I have 2 minutes to think, that's probably not the best way to do that. This probably isn't the best thing on my schedule tomorrow. I need to move that to somebody. You have those minutes to kind of reassess and help yourself. It's 2 minutes and tomorrow's 2 minutes, but by next week, you might be able to get to 3 minutes. And that's how we get kind of out of those cycles, but we will excuse away why we can't take. It's uncomfortable. You actually have to sit in your thoughts, not other people's thoughts, not in the interruptions, but in you. It's an uncomfortable space. And in the thought process of a pause isn't productive, is kind of how we piece those two things together, because
Mhm.
there's not motion, right? There's no movement in a pause. It's still, it's quiet. And so we assess that as nothing is happening in pause. And really, that's where, you think about when you've like watched a video, or maybe like I have a streaming service and sometimes the
Mhm.
signal's not coming through. So you pause it for a second and you see the little band on the bottom and you see like the thing fill up
Yeah.
as it's finishing to download.
Mhm.
That's what it's doing. Like a ton of work is happening in the background of
Mhm.
pausing your streaming, whatever it is, or pausing your music for the download to catch up. There's a lot of things that are happening so that you can move forward on time, on schedule, in the right way without a glitch. Like, think about if we switch the mindset of that pause is the same thing as that download band. And I think about it like it'd be running right here down at the bottom of the screen, right? And
Mhm.
it pauses, and then you see it fill all the way back up, and you're like, oh, look, now I can go forward without interruption. So it's
Right.
changing that mind shift. You need that pause so that all of that internal work that's going on back here in the subconscious part of your brain catches up so that you move forward with all of the purpose and the intention without those interruptions, those glitches that we get in those videos. If we're looking at the taking on more, it's feeling confident enough in yourself to even say, let me think about how I would do that instead of saying no. Because I think that's the bigger problem in that, oh, yeah, we don't want to say no. Again, it's
Mhm.
part of that. We have been taught we're supposed to have it all. And to have it all, you say yes. And saying yes is a great thing in a lot of situations. But saying no is just as much of a great thing as saying yes. We need to say no. Our children need to hear us say no. Sometimes our boss needs to hear us say no, but in different ways because they need to understand our capacity. If our boss doesn't know I'm at full capacity and we
Mhm.
assume the boss knows. And that's part of the problem too, or we assume the team or whoever is asking for the thing, we assume they know where we are, what we're doing, all the things on our planner, and they wouldn't have asked if it wasn't really important. Well, no, they just don't remember who's doing what necessarily, or they sort of remember, or they don't know you're on full.
Right.
So they
Right.
make the ask. So saying, let me take a few minutes or 24 hours. Can I let you know tomorrow? That way I have a second to look at how I would balance that in my schedule. And then you take that minute somewhere in your day to assess, okay, they want me to take on project alpha, but I
Mhm.
still have 1, 2, 3, and 4 over here. And so there really isn't enough time to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and alpha. So then you can come back to that person and say, so I have several things on my plate. I might be able to take on some of alpha or this particular part of alpha project. But let's assess 1, 2, 3, and 4. What's the priority in all of these things on my plate? And a lot of times you'll even get, oh, I forgot you had that one on your
Oh,
plate. I forgot. I didn't realize, yeah, we are in the phase of whatever that project is or whatever that thing at work or that committee that's asking you. That's right. You're in the main part of this thing that you do, which
right.
would really make it not possible to do this. Or, yeah, things have shifted on the priority at work. Like this has to get done. We have to fix this, we have to fix this thing in alpha. Let's put that down, or I'll go ask so and so. They may be who needs to take on that so that you can do this because it's better fit to you. And so they even start to assess where is everybody on the bus in the team that you're working on. So you're
Mhm.
not going to your boss and saying no, but you're really asking for real valued information that is, which plate would you like me to drop? Because at 6 plates, we are at my maximum ability to juggle.
And to be honest, it's human nature, Erin, for us to
It
keep
a
asking
1,000.
more of people
Mhm.
when they keep saying yes.
Yes. Well, and
Is it
and they do know that. It's like, "Oh, well, she's capable. She takes on all this stuff, and she's still doing it, and she meets deadlines, and she does the thing." And it's a real issue with, like, high achievers.
Yes.
Like, people one of my children is a people pleaser, and she's a high achiever, and, like, those are 2 different things.
Mhm.
Being a people pleaser and being a high achiever are not the same things. I am a very high achiever. I figure out how to get things done, but I'm a person who's gonna say, "I'm gonna take 2 minutes to figure out the system on how to get from here to there, and how to get from here to there, and how to get from here to there." And I'm also somebody who's gonna say, "I need you to take responsibility for this, and you to take responsibility for this. Let's go over here and have this conversation on this day time to assess how that's gonna work." It's just in my brain. I was built with it. I also grew up in a family business, so I saw that in an everyday, you know, assigning task
Mhm.
or asking for input is a lot less of a problem for me. I don't have to do it all myself to a certain degree. You get to a certain point where you do have those moments where like, well, if I just do it, it'll be so much faster. It's like that's not helping in the long run. But yeah, high achievers are going to keep taking on. And people pleasers are going to say yes, even when they shouldn't. And between the two of those, you have picked up a massive majority of people. And then I think, too, a lot of our younger generation, our millennials and our Gen Z, are terrified to say no.
Yeah.
And they won't have the conversation with a boss or a committee they're on. They'll just run away because we've taught them that skill. We don't deal with it. Just uncomfortable so bad, just leave uncomfortable and find something else. It's like, no, that's probably more detrimental than kind of working through the moment.
I want to talk a little bit more about momentum, because you've worked in high performance environments and there's a lot of talk about momentum there. So do you see momentum showing up in behavior patterns too?
Absolutely. And that's also how you kind of sometimes you're in the momentum. I'm running. I'm making my
Right.
way and the track that I'm running on and the marathon of work, life, whatever. And you're like, but I just accomplished A, B, C, D, and E. And all I gotta do is, the momentum's with me. Let's get to F or whatever that thing is. And that it is a lot of times the momentum that shadows us. Think about when you're driving down a road and the car's going 70 miles an hour, everything along the side of the road is kind of a blur. You can't catch all of the video, the scenery, the mountains, the cornfields, wherever you are. You can't see it all. It's moving too fast if you're driving the car. But if you're in the passenger seat, you have plenty of time to kind of look around, but you still can't see it as if you were standing at it, looking around or hiking through it, because the momentum is the 70-mile-an-hour car. So you don't even necessarily see the red flags. You don't see the flares on the side of the road. You can't see the giant hole that's coming up in the road ahead. You can't. Yeah, it's pothole season where I am. So it's what makes me think of that. It's pothole season. Do you have pothole season in Texas? We have pothole season.
We have it year round.
Pothole season is it's very spring specific, I guess.
I guess when the earth is moving, and I don't know.
You've moved all that salt on the road and it's finally washed off, and it literally burns into some of the, so we're in pothole season here. But you can't see the pothole coming, which is how you hit the pothole and bend the axle and, bend the wheel in the car and end up on the side of the road. Hopefully that's as bad as it's just the car and not some major accident, because there's 50 other cars going 70 miles an hour down the road too. Right? Like momentum's the same thing, and momentum can be a great thing, but it can also be the thing that hurts you. And so that's where having those even 2-minute check-ins with yourself helps you assess the momentum. Am I still in the momentum? Is it moving forward? Does the momentum still need to be 70 miles an hour? Are we in a speed zone that, speed trap, let's take it down to 55. And it lets you assess those things so that you can better see the pothole that may be out there.
The difference between pushing through and then building real momentum, right? There's people probably, I've noticed people, they build momentum in the wrong direction without realizing it.
And in an unpurposeful, it's back to that. You are in motion, but nothing productive is happening in the motion. You're standing there, you're burning energy, right? Like we had somebody who I worked with in one of our restaurants, and he was an older gentleman and would stand kind of in the middle of the store, and he would constantly, can I help? Can I help? Can I help? And he really wouldn't move off a pivot point. Right. But so nothing really productive happened, but he was constantly like, and so he had burned energy. He had worked. Movement happened. Cows were burned. But there was nothing at the end of that window of time that got done in a really kind of helpful way.
He
he got
stopped momentum.
well, and he was constantly, "Can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you?" And it's like, "No, you're actually standing in the way of the milkshake bar so that they can make the milkshakes. You're actually in the way of getting to the cook line or getting to the dish sink. Like you're in the way more than you're helping."
Hmm.
And in his mind, it was, I'm helping. I'm doing the things, the little tasks that need done. But in reality, it was he was the roadblock for other people that were trying to work because he didn't know how the people worked together. And in the trying to help them all, it's like, no, I can do this way faster than I can explain it to you.
Yes.
Right.
And
And
he had
so
those blinders on that you were talking
he
about.
had those blinders on. He's helping. I'm the helper.
Mhm.
And in
Yeah.
reality, if you could take, and from the rest of us, if you stood back and you watch, you're like, look, every person who's trying to work and is working at productivity, they're having to step around him. They're taking 3 extra steps because he's in the way. And momentum is much like that. You have these roadblocks. And so we're going way out of our way. And instead of
Mhm.
going, wait, what is the line to being productive? Not just, I mean, what good does it do you to burn 1,000 calories and go home and eat 3 milkshakes and a cheeseburger? And so you wouldn't do that on a person, right? So why do you do it on the other side? You can make those 2 comparisons. They are very equivalent. I mean, I guess unless you're a really high end athlete, like you hear Michael Phelps was eating like 60,000 calories a day. I mean, I guess
Yes.
he's
I've
allowed to
read
do
that.
that. But for the rest of us, that's not normal.
But if a good leader on a team would take that energy he had
Mhm.
to help, right? You could redirect it. And
Yeah.
and that's the key is to not, like one small pause really does change the direction someone is headed, but sometimes they need a little help,
Sometimes they need a little, and
guidance.
that's part of leadership is knowing how to approach that conversation. What is that person's particular skill? And that's something that we had to figure out how to do with him is there is a lot of things he is good at
Mhm.
being in that space. So we need to set him up in a space that he can be really successful and highlight his skills. Cause I mean, we wouldn't have kept him around if he didn't have any skills, right? He good at a lot of things. It's like, I need to just make sure he's in a space that that's not where he has the opportunity to be. And so
Mhm.
it's even making those reassessments. And he's like, but I really like, I understand you really like, but I really need you taking care of this. I can't be worried about that. And that's what you're great at. And when he hears that, like, oh, she sees me, she values me, she trusts me, she knows I can take care of. And it's like, if you're in charge of that, I don't even have to think about it. It's not even on my list of things I
Yeah.
have to at all. And now we've given him that confidence to go, oh, you know what? I'm going to go over there and I'm going to do that thing that Erin needs me to do and be in charge of and nail it every time because she trusts me to do it. And so we've both empowered him and we've helped the flow of the system on the other side at the same time. And I've taken something off my personal plate of things to deal with. And of course,
Mhm.
you check in with them on occasion, but it's not the same kind of conversation. I'm not having to do it myself, and he's great at it. So why do I need to be doing it?
And doing it all at once, right? It's just recognizing that moment and choosing something different before his pattern runs again.
Yeah.
Just in small steps so it doesn't burden you. It doesn't
Yeah.
overrun your plate.
Yeah. Yeah. You helped all of those scenarios, and that helps you with your burnout, right? I know
Yeah.
somebody amazing, competent, talented, skilled is taken care of. That's not on my plate. It's still part of my business, but it's not mine to do. Is he gonna do it as well as I do? I mean, maybe, maybe not. That's a whole other we get into the I can do it better than, whoever you wanna, but the problem is it really better? And if yours is 100 and theirs is 98, is that enough of a difference to not take it off my plate? Yes, I can do it 100% right. He's going to do it 98% right. I would venture to say he's probably going to do it 105, but let's let my little bias of I do it all right. And that's part of that problem too, is, but I do it right. And we use that excuse. If I do it, it'll be done better, faster, right. And it's relative what right or wrong it is.
Right. Right. And you know, we could do a whole nother episode on the 100% or nothing people.
Yeah. Well, and there's a difference too, but if I'm 100 and you're 98, am
Uh-huh.
I really losing at his 98%? I mean, that's still an A plus, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's still an A plus, but I didn't have to do it. I didn't spend the time. I didn't spend the energy. I didn't spend the thought. So let his 98 take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my 100% can be in the space that he can't do, or she can't do, or this one. That's where you need to kind of figure out where those balances come. But that's the problem. We don't want to relinquish. We want to hold on. And we think that by controlling more and holding on tighter, and it's like a marathon baton. You don't want to let go of the baton, because I can run the marathon the fastest with my
Yeah.
baton, because I'm the amazing one. And that's why I'm the boss. And that's why I've moved up. And so all of those things we start to control harder when we feel the spin out, thinking that because we held it harder, we can pull it back in and fix it. And it's, again, just like in driving, you don't brake harder when you're in the spin. You have to let go of the brake and stay calm. And it's that same thing in life. When we're spinning, we have to not hit the brake and turn the wheel as sharp as we can. We have to stay calm and straight to figure out how to get out of this.
And you have to really focus, because the brain's wanting to protect you and it's wanting to react,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and that will just make it worse. But so if someone listening right now is thinking, hey man, I can relate to that. This is me. How do they get started? What's one thing they should start noticing today? And what's a signal people tend to ignore? I mean, help them get started.
I think one of the biggest signals when we're talking in kind of a leadership, and this is personal at home, in your momdom, in your workdom, the things that you are avoiding are the things that you need to pay attention to. But we avoid them because they're hard, because they're uncomfortable, because we may not know how to solve them, or maybe that person in that department is just, you're like, going to that department to see Sally. Sally just drains me, and I don't have the energy for Sally today. That's where we have to work to show up. Now, we don't have to spend 10 hours with Sally, but we need to start making an effort to show up in Sally's area, if that's where it is. But it's, I think I use the analogy, that thing that you've kind of stuffed in the corner. We all have that drawer where all the stuff is, that we're like, I don't know what to do with this. We just threw it in the drawer. But we do that in life too. There's a corner of your office that's got a pile of stuff in it that we have ignored. You can't tell me what's in that pile. Tell me what's on the bottom of that pile in the corner of your bookshelf in your office. Tell me what's in the pile in the corner of your closet. Tell me what's in that pile, and then it becomes the place we stack, right? There's a place in your office somewhere. There's a place in your house, in your room, in somewhere. There's an apartment of people, and you avoid it, and you pile and stick the stuff and just walk past it. And it just starts to become the noise, right? You just walk past it and you don't even see it anymore. Start there. Go through that pile of stuff. I bet you can throw most of it away. You can donate those clothes that are in that corner. You can, and when you start there, you start to find just the fog lift in your own brain. Look, you can now sit in that chair in the corner, or I can put a nice picture or a vase with a flower that makes me happy, instead of big old stack of papers, and that really aren't things that we need. They aren't doing anything. And so it's finding what am I avoiding and find a way for yourself. I think those are the spaces where we start to go, wow, I spent a lot of time wasting time over here. You know
Mhm.
what? And we see it because you have that couple of minutes. Go through some of those.
It reminds me, I have such a great visual for that. There was a period in our lives where my husband and I were moving, like, almost every year. We moved, like, 3 or 4 different times, and his dad, my father-in-law, would help us move. And finally, like, the 3rd move, I think, he's like, I've moved these boxes in the last 3 years, and I don't think they've ever been opened. My rule is if you haven't opened it in a year, it goes in the trash."
Yeah. Like it's not serving you. There's nothing,
Mhm.
but we hold on to it
Yeah, yeah.
because, and that is the answer when I, as a parent, we hear, well, why did you do that? Because, like, no. My kids will tell you that answer will absolutely no, that is not an answer. It, like, absolutely will get my goat of no, because
Mhm.
is never an answer. So if that's the answer to a question, why is that pile over there? Because, yeah, that's the
Hmm.
thing we're going to go tackle. Why is your calendar full like this? Because,
Mhm.
no, no, we're not going to do it. No, I'm going to go figure out how to completely disarray that so that you have to address it because that's where our blinders are. We put those blinders up to avoid uncomfortable. And honestly, the best growth and the best movement forward is when you get through the bottom of that pile and you go, wow, I have whatever clarity you learned from the pile or the release of the clothes in the corner, and you took it to the local women's shelter or to a nonprofit of some kind. We donate. There's a pantry at the local middle school that we take
Mm.
a lot of
Yeah.
the clothes to. And so we take them there. And it's like, look, that felt so much better. A, it's not in my house and I dealt with it. And B, I was able to help somebody else. Like those are ways that we can do multiple things at once and we can help and ourselves and somebody else in a really kind of
Mhm.
help positive way and start to, okay, now that there's this open shelf, what do I want to put on that shelf? What do I want to put in that corner? And that becomes a plan of purpose. I'm not going to
Yes.
go back to that. What am I going to put in there? And then that brain, because we've cleared out that space in our brain too, we start to really make a plan for, again, whatever that avoidance was before. And those are moving forwards. And so it's
Stepping
the small
stones.
steps, it's little stepping stones. We aren't
Mhm.
trying to recreate life today because it's not going to happen. There's a reason like New Year's resolutions don't last more than like 10 days, I think the study says,
Yeah.
because they're crazy. It's like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Who loses 20 pounds in a week and a half? Like, that just, no, that's crazy. But it's making those small steps are
Yeah.
what actually moves us forward. It's not these big, gigantic, gestures and Facebook, Instagram moments. Those
Mhm.
aren't where growth happens. That's not where becoming happens.
We're just
We're
constantly
constantly.
evolving.
Mhm. And that's what
And
we
we're
have to
fit
remember. That's what becoming is. It's that involvement of who you are, and how you do it isn't how I do it. And neither one is wrong and neither one is right. It's we came from different spaces and we
Yes,
need
yes.
different things at different moments and different times in our life. And that's what becoming is. There isn't a right or wrong. There isn't a my way and your way. It's how you get there. And it's taking all of this information from all of these conversations and going, okay, I can use some of that and some of that and some of this. And that's how I make my potion of my evolution.
I love that. If you think about the version of you back then and the version of you now, who have you become?
I am much calmer. I am I don't react because when you're in that
Stepping.
constant motion, that's all you're doing. You're reacting in an
Mhm.
everyday kind of way, in an every minute almost kind of way. And life in reaction it gets to your gut, it gets to your physically. So you're like, I didn't accomplish. So you leave the day going, I had all of these things. I accomplished nothing. I finished nothing. And so it's turning that around and saying, wait, I planned out my day. I don't have a calendar where every minute is accounted for. I have some of the things I want to get done today, but I have space that if a client calls and needs to have a conversation or just have a coffee, great.
Yeah.
If one of the kids has calls with a question, I can spend 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending on the kid, depends on the length of conversation. Mine are 20 to 27, so it all depends on, kid in which position of their life. And so
Yes.
you can do those things, but you can also have time to think, what is it I want this to be? What is it I want that to look like? And so you have those minutes to actually think of process through and really
Mhm.
be able to take the steps and go, okay, this is where I want to go and this is what I want to go. I know I want to be over here. I know I want to create a business that's successful, but I'm not trying to run every day. It's how do I take each step that makes sense to build where I want to get to, which
I
then
love
gives us all of the foundation. You don't build a house and just throw it up.
Right.
You think about it. What's the soil look like? What's the foundation going to be? How big is it going to be? What's the long-term plan? And so you think through all of those things, but by giving yourself space and by giving yourself the moments to kind of take a breath, you have those stepping stones and you are now calm. And so it's decisions that I make and the
Mhm.
decisions make sense in the long run instead of a reaction.
So perfect. So perfect. Before we start to wrap up today, I want to make sure people know where to find you because the way you approach this is so real and usable. Where's the best place for them to connect with you and find your work?
So I'm on social media. It's super easy. Facebook, Instagram, even on TikTok. You have some stuff over there to keep that a little bit fun and sometimes a little whimsy over there. But all are Coach Erin Treacy, and it's Treacy, Treacy. So that's the last name is sometimes the spelling it throws some folks off. And then just to keep it simple, the website's the same, Coach Erin Treacy. I respond to all of the messages on all of those sites, and my email and all of that kind of contact information is on the website as well. So it is me that you're talking to, which also I think is helpful to a lot of people when they know, oh, it's not a bot. It's not somebody in an office. I sit and look at all of those to make sure I'm responding
Yeah,
in
and
ways that are
someone that
really helpful.
genuinely cares in a real humanistic way.
Yeah.
So I love that. And we'll make sure those links, everybody, don't freak out, not writing it down, but those links will be in the show notes. So when you, I lost my question. Okay. So anyway, let's close with this. This was such a powerful conversation. And what stood out to me is this idea that the moment before the reaction, that's where everything shifts, not all at once, but in small intentional choices that change the direction over time. Thank you for sharing that so openly with us today.
Those moments show up a lot. And it's even if you only see it once today to make a different choice, that's one more than you did yesterday. And
Mhm.
you are human. So you aren't going to get it 100% right. And we sit and talk about this. I don't get it 100% right. And you have to be able to go, you know what? I'm still going to try again tomorrow.
Yes. So remember, everybody, you don't have to fix everything. You just have to catch the moment, pause, choose, and build momentum from there, one moment at a time. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.